Today, we will once again take a look at interesting footage that captures a moment: how Ukrainian FPV drones easily tracked and blew up so much Russian troops in battle. The war in Ukraine has been characterized by drone deployment of unprecedented scale, with thousands of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, used to track enemy forces, guide artillery, and bomb targets. Some media analyzed more than 50 videos of drone attacks, collated research, and spoke to over a dozen manufacturers, soldiers, and officials about how the technology is transforming warfare. The tiny, inexpensive FPV, first-person view, drone has proved to be one of the most potent weapons in this war, where conventional warplanes are relatively rare because of a dense concentration of anti-aircraft systems near front lines. FPVs, originally designed for civilian racers, are controlled by pilots on the ground and often crashed into targets, laden with explosives, but the total cost of the drone's components, including an explosive warhead secured with cable ties, can be as little as $500 or less. The FPV drones take off from improvised platforms several kilometers from the front line. Depending on their size, battery, and payload, range varies from 5 kilometers to 20 kilometers or more. A soldier operates the drone using a remote controller and a headset that allows them to see the view from the camera, and another soldier looks at a tablet computer with maps and gives directions. After flying across the front line, the pilot spots the target, a tank, and they will select one of its most vulnerable parts, an open hatch, the engine or ammunition stored in the turret. Usually, the target will already have been detected by a reconnaissance drone, and the FPV would zip straight to its location and fly at high speed into the target. Every day, drone units from Ukraine armies publish videos on social media demonstrating how drones as inexpensive as $500 can effectively destroy costly artillery pieces or tanks worth millions of dollars, and showcasing their transformative role in modern warfare. Drones have been used in warfare for decades. Pilotless, radio-controlled aircraft were tested as far back as World War I. But the war in Ukraine has seen an explosion in the scale with which they're deployed. They have transformed from performing specialized functions to becoming one of the most important and widely used weapons on the battlefield. The deployment of smaller drones, which was inconsistent at the beginning of the war, has now become extremely organized, with UAVs now integrated into Ukraine's armed forces structure. Almost every fighting brigade has an assault drone company, while most units have small reconnaissance drones, and the Ukrainian government aims to make 1 million FPV drones in 2024. To put that into context, it's around double the number of artillery shells supplied by the entire European Union over the past year. The process of deploying this technology on the battlefield begins with reconnaissance drones equipped with high-spec cameras that transmit real-time video back to their pilot's control screen, allowing the operator to look for enemy targets from above. At this time, Russian forces in Ukraine lost more than 1,000 soldiers in the past day, according to Kyiv's military, as clashes continue across the front line in the east of the war-torn country ahead of anticipated offensives in the coming months. Moscow's armed forces lost 1,030 fighters in the previous 24 hours, Ukraine's general staff said in an update posted to social media on Wednesday. The new figures bring Ukraine's tally of reported Russian casualties to 439,190. Kyiv also said the Kremlin's forces had lost 11 tanks and 9 armored personnel vehicles over the past day. By Ukraine's count, Russia has now lost more than 6,900 tanks and 13,216 armored personnel vehicles. Casualty counts and equipment losses in war are notoriously difficult to pin down, and Western experts suggest both Kyiv's and Moscow's reported losses are higher than the true figure. Neither side offers regular updates on their own losses. But if Ukraine's tally includes overall casualties, as well as Russian fighters who are missing or died in non-combat circumstances, it is a perfectly plausible tally, Nick Reynolds, a research fellow for land warfare at the London-based Royal United Services Institute think tank, told media in February. Casualty counts typically spike during drawn-out battles, such when Russia launched its offensive on the strategic Donetsk city of Avdiivka in October, and Moscow has controlled the settlement since mid-February. Earlier in March, the British government said Russia's monthly casualty count throughout February reached the highest point since Moscow's forces crossed into Ukraine in February 2022. Russia has likely sustained more than 335,000 casualties in this time. This almost certainly reflects Russia's commitment to mass and attritional warfare, the UK Defense Ministry said. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said last week that Ukraine had sustained approximately 71,000 casualties since January 2024. However, this Sergei Shoigu's forecast was very similar to the Russian casualty figures put forward by Ukraine's military. Kyiv's tally at the time put Russian casualties at approximately 72,000 since the start of the year. Despite grinding losses on both sides, Russia is widely expected to launch renewed onslaughts on Ukrainian defenses as the warmer spring and summer months approach. Russia has managed to replenish its stocks of equipment and up its production of new systems, sustaining its attacks on Ukrainian frontline troops. Meanwhile, a $60 billion aid package has languished in Congress for months, and a short-term stopgap measure of $300 million in military aid announced by the Pentagon earlier this month will scarcely ease concerns over how Ukraine's depleted ammunition stocks will impact Russian advances. Russian forces have marginally advanced near the decimated Donetsk city of Bakhmut, with fighting continuing from the northern front lines close to the northeastern city of Kupiansk down to the southern Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, the U.S. think tank, the Institute for the Study of War, said on Tuesday.